Hello, welcome to the Ripping Pages with me, Liam Bishop, curating the best writers to help you with your writing. And today I'm with Benjamin Markovits on another edition of Rippling Points. That's bonus content from last month's episode, so a little bit more insights and a little bit more inspiration into the craft of writing. Now in these clips, you're going to be hearing Benjamin talking about his book, The Rest of Our Lives, which has just very recently been published by Faber and Faber. You're going to hear Ben's thoughts on families and how the roles in families are formed and fought out over the years. You hear a little bit more about his obsession with Michael Jordan, and then we finish Ripping Points with Ben answering the question, which of Ben's book is his mum's favourite? Now, before we get going, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow, tell your friends about the Rippling Pages. I really do appreciate that, and I really do appreciate you being here. But for now, let's get on with it. This is Benjamin Markovits on The Rest of Our Lives. It felt like you were sort of talking about a time when the roles are shifting within a family, and they are becoming. It feels like at times there's a bit of a power shift between the children and the parents, and who is sort of doing the parenting.
I think all family life is about power dynamics, not in a cold way, but who does what, who laughs at whose jokes, who gets to decide the movie. You know, there's all kinds of little power games that go on. I'm one of 5 kids, and I was very conscious of it as a kid, that there's tides in these things, and sometimes you ride with the waves, and sometimes you ride against them. But it's a little more complicated in that he acknowledged, his wife doesn't really work, and so she's done a lot of the parenting. He's paid the bills. But part of that deal is that he gets to be the good time dad, the dad who's patient, loving, doesn't challenge his kids when he thinks they're screwing up because he just wants to get along with them. And he lets his wife do some of the dirty work, which he acknowledges. On the other hand, the wife has her, Amy has her own things going on and gets it wrong in ways that he has to correct for by being a little bit more patient than she is. And so there's this dynamic between them where they can each resent the other for, or actually missteps is wrong, they're parental habits that they have to correct. But then you get this kind of frictional relationship, right, where each partner is correcting, he thinks or she thinks, the tendencies that the other one is neglecting.
There's a lot of subtext to what's going on within the family, and, as you sort of alluded to.
I feel like family life is subtext, right? I mean, because you have so much subtext, so much shared history.
Yeah. Do you have kids now? I think you've mentioned on previous podcasts you've got.
Yeah, I've got 2 kids. How about you? Have you got kids?
No kids, no. So me and my partner are getting married this year. So
congratulations!
Thank you.
You got siblings?
Yeah, so I've got a sister. So there is. Yeah, it's different. I do find family incredibly interesting.
Older or younger sister?
She's younger, 3 years younger than me. So, we're both very. I think you've said this before in a podcast, actually, or an interview at least, that it's so interesting how siblings can be very different. But then there's that shared history of a family that you all have.
I don't know. I mean, I always felt, because I'm really quite similar to all of my siblings. I feel like to some extent we had this hive mind to which we all contributed in different ways, but there was this kind of collective consciousness that we could both draw on as a resource and we're stuck with.
And is that the hive? Is the hive the family?
Yeah, the hive is the family. Yeah.
Right, okay. What would be your team then for basketball? Because I know you've written about Michael Jordan.
I loved Michael Jordan. I was obsessed with Michael Jordan. I mean, my local team is the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh, okay.
So Austin's about an hour and a bit. And I used to fall asleep listening to WOAI radio, which would play the Spurs games. So that would be my local team. But I actually, basketball is so much about the players because you can see them so vividly because there aren't that many of them. The court is small. And so I'm a big Steph Curry fan now.
Right. Okay.
So I like Golden State.
Okay. Hey, there's a documentary, isn't there, about him on Netflix, I think.
Court of Gold. Yeah. About the whole Olympic experience.
You obviously wrote about The Last Dance. So I don't know if that piqued your interest at all too.
Yeah, no, I mean, it told me lots of stories I'd heard before, but I was very glad to show it to my kids. I felt like this is, because I have English kids. What am I supposed to do? Like, they're just English.
So Steph Curry, what's his position then? So I don't know a lot about basketball. I know teams and I follow what's going on just because of that was probably my first American sport. Actually, the first thing that I fell in, the first American thing I fell in love with really was basketball. And I grew up when sort of the Lakers were really good with Kobe and
right.
Shaq, and then when I went to Florida when it was about 2002, 2001, and
What were you doing there?
we were just going to Disneyland, so I went to family holiday to Disneyland.
Yeah.
So that was my first time in America, and I bought a shirt. I was like, I need to buy a Lakers shirt, and I bought a Lakers shirt, and it must have been the playoffs time because I don't think these are a franchise anymore. But maybe they are. The Nets when they used to be New Jersey.
Yeah, they move on. So they're now in Brooklyn.
Oh, is that Brooklyn Net? Right, okay. And that was my first sort of way into like feeling like what an American movie feels like watching all these sports. So Lakers, that's what kind of because we used to get the highlights over here. This was sort of before we had
Channel 4, I think, used to show basketball, right?
Yeah. So I think that must be where I've picked it up from, or where I did pick it up from.
I was in grad school in England in 97, 98, and I would watch. So Jordan's final championships, I watched on a tiny TV in my grad school dorm at 4 a.m. because of the time difference. Wow. Just by myself, and then the dawn would come up because it would be June, and then you try to go to bed with the birds twittering outside and the light coming in through the curtains. Really intense.
But that's what you remember, though, isn't it? That's kind of things that you remember, I think, isn't it?
That's what you remember, yeah.
I'm going to be in conversation with Katerina Volkmer about her second novel, Calls May Be Recorded for Training and Monitoring Purposes. That's published by Indigo Press. Now, Katerina Volkmer is a name that you will know well. She published The Appointment with Fitzcarraldo Editions that went on to be translated into over 15 languages, was nominated for prizes, and was a debut novel hit. So I'm delighted to be in conversation with her. But Katerina was also one of the first authors that I ever interviewed on the Rippling Pages. So we're going to be doing this conversation live and in person at the Hyde Park Book Club in Leeds. That's on Monday, the 12th of May. If you're in the area or travelling from wherever you are, please do come along. There's a link to the tickets in the show notes. It's going to be a great event. The Hyde Park Book Club is a really fantastic, intimate, cosy venue. That means you've got to get your tickets soon. And as well as this, Next Chapter Books Leeds, the new independent bookshop in Leeds that's focusing on women's writing. They're going to be there too, selling books. It's going to be a great event. There's going to be, obviously, we're going to be chatting about Katerina's second novel, but also there's, of course, the chance to ask Katerina some questions too. Hope to see you there. Okay, let's get back to it, and let's get back to the rest of our lives with Benjamin Markovits. Do you find it easy to write up or write down in sort of ages?
I guess I don't. I mean, it's probably easier to write down. I've written younger characters. I have spent less time occupying. I've written lots of older characters, but not from their point of view.
I'm trying to think of the chap in the Sign Papers. Was he quite? He was.
So Pitt was. So the main guy was a kind of failed academic. I don't remember his age actually. He was looking for tenure, which would place him, I suppose, 30-ish. And then there's the historical figure Fide, who's a young man. But it's been a long time since I'm impressed. It's been a long time since I've thought about the Sign Papers. My mom's favorite book that I wrote, the first one I ever did.
Really? Yeah. What favorite because it was your first, or favorite because she?
No, I think she found the picture of an academic who had spent his life maybe chasing an unpopular idea. Very moving.
Was she an academic then? What was her?
Both my parents are law professors.
Right, okay.
Tom is a law professor too. The world of legal academia is the one I grew up in.